Israel has powerful enemies around the world, but not all of them use military weapons. Some have been trying a different tactic: economic and cultural warfare. And the battlefield is businesses, college campuses, courts, even churches. But as John Waggy reports from Los Angeles, Israel's supporters are fighting back.
When Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat tried to address a group of students at San Francisco State last week, he was shouted down by members of the anti-Israel BDS movement. It stands for Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions, and it's a powerful coalition of groups waging an economic and cultural war against Israel. This Stand With Us conference in Los Angeles is an effort to counter the BDS movement, to fight the deluge of anti-Israel hostility on college campuses and social media and in the global economy. Shir, an Israeli student, was shouted down and called a war criminal while she was speaking at a university in Tampa.
They waited outside of the class, and we had to have a police escort to our cars because they kept following us and calling us names. How can you sleep at night? You are a murderer.
It really hurts. As you can see, I'm standing here. I'm a civilized human being. I'm not a war machine.
Alon is a former Israeli soldier. He says he's constantly challenged by rumors and half-truths about Israel by his foreign friends on social media. He was also shouted down on campus by BDS supporters.
Standing up, shouting, screaming, and not even having an open discussion, just throwing out comments in the air without any open dialogue.
No, it's freedom of speech for me, but not for thee. That is what is the mantra of the BDS supporters on college campuses.
San Diego attorney Mika Danzig does pro bono work for people threatened by the BDS movement. He's angered that the freest society in the Middle East is singled out with the help of serial human rights abusers in the rest of the world.
And you're saying the one Jewish state is so deserving of this, then you uniquely attribute all this evil to the one Jewish state. That can't help but spill over to Jews on campus. It can't help but spill over to Jewish businesses, to people who are supportive of Israel, to Zionists, non-Jewish Zionists, Christian Zionists who support Israel. They become the focus of this vitriol and hate, not just Israel.
Several mainline Protestant churches are involved in the BDS economic war on Israel. The push began in the United Nations, targeting Israel for divestment in the same way churches targeted apartheid South Africa in the 1980s. Stand With Us CEO Roz Rothstein says some church leaders have bought into a campaign of disinformation that distorts the true picture in the Middle East.
Because oftentimes it's not the people in the pews that are angry at Israel. It's the people in leadership positions that are moving in this direction and on false information, on half-truths.
Rothstein says she's thankful for the millions of Christians who do support Israel.
I'm a daughter of Holocaust survivors, and I am personally grateful to the community for standing shoulder to shoulder with the State of Israel and Jewish people on these very difficult issues during these BDS campaigns. So thank you.
John Waggy, CBN News, Los Angeles.
Just want to say we stand strongly with Israel, and I know you do too. Pray. Pray for the nation, pray for the people, pray for all that's going on over there right now, and for an understanding to become known to people who are rallying and making these statements and accusations and comments that have no knowledge, no true knowledge of what's going on there. In addition to that, how sad is it? College campuses with no open dialogue, that ought to be an oxymoron. What's going on, America? Well, in other news, social conservatives rallied to show their support for North Carolina's new bathroom law. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That's right, Terry. Conservative groups rallied in North Carolina's capital, calling on the governor to stand strong against liberal and business opposition to the new law. The measure says people must use bathrooms, locker rooms, and showers according to their biological sex at birth. The Keep NC Safe Coalition hosted the event, which featured speakers Bishop Harry Jackson, Christian author Frank Turek, and business owners the Benham brothers.
We thank God for the freedom that we have in this country, and if we're not willing to stand now, 20 years from now, my kids aren't going to be able to stand. They're going to go to jail. So we have to take a stand.
This is not a civil rights issue. It's one group trying to dominate dominate someone else. It's one group trying to silence another group. It's darkness trying to press in against the light.
Critics say the bill is discriminatory against transgendered people. Well, the battle over next week's New York presidential primary is growing more intense. Both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump hold double-digit leads in their home state. Trump especially needs a victory to try to avoid a contested Republican convention. Caitlin Burke has the story.
The battle for New York is on, although it's not expected to be much of a battle.
So we have an incredible thing going. We're doing amazingly well. New York is very important. Remember New York values? We have the greatest values. Nobody has values like us.
I am proud to have represented New York for 8 years. I am proud to have been the Secretary of State and going to 112 countries, standing up for our values.
The New York primary takes place a week from today. The home state for both Trump and Clinton, they're dominating in the polls. A welcome sight after decisive losses over the last few weeks for them both. Trump holds a 33-point lead over John Kasich, while Ted Cruz trails them both. And Clinton holds a 14-point lead over Bernie Sanders. Polls also show some possible trouble for Trump if he does win the Republican nomination and ends up running against Clinton. A new AP poll shows that 69% of voters have a negative view of Trump, but Clinton has some problems of her own, as 55% have a negative view of her. Many Republicans believe Trump could get a sound beating in November. Cruz warned voters that if Trump is the Republican nominee, it will be a bloodbath for the Republican Party in the general election. For now, the bloodbath of negative campaigning ahead of the general election is running full steam ahead. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Thanks, Caitlin. The more researchers learn about Zika, the scarier it appears, according to federal health officials. They're urging for more government money for mosquito control to stop the spread of the virus and to develop vaccines and treatments. Experts say the virus has been linked to fetal brain defects and rare neurological problems in adults. The Center for Disease Control warns pregnant women to take extra precautions to avoid Zika. Operation Blessing has been fighting the virus in Central and South America, including using fish that eat mosquitoes. You can learn more about how OB is working to stop Zika and how you can help by going to their website at ob.org. Well, the Bible is one of the most challenged books at public schools and libraries across the country, according to the latest annual report from the American Library Association on the top 10 most challenged books. The report says some parents and groups complain libraries violate the separation of church and state when they put Bibles on their shelves. But the American Library Association says that's not true. The ALA's Office for Intellectual Freedom states the Bible does not violate the separation of church and state as long as the library does not endorse or promote the views of the Bible. The ALA also favors including other holy books like the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Book of Mormon. The group does hear complaints about the Quran, but Terry, fewer than the Bible.
I don't know, John. It's like we have lost our common sense. Put aside the right of Christians to be heard. How about just reporting history as it actually happened, the beginnings of our nation as it actually occurred, the people who were our leaders, who were people of strong faith? Oh, American Library Association, thank you for your common sense.